Hey, I'm Danielle, and I recently decided to take a leap of faith in my career. If you're wanting to make a big change and you're worried or you're not exactly sure how, this video is for you. I take you through a few days of my life and how I work through it all. Let's start with the obvious. Why am I taking a leap of faith in my career, and what does this actually look like? Recently, I had 5 jobs and really 7 career priorities because I was mentoring high school students, working at a restaurant, teaching yoga classes, doing some PR work for an entrepreneur on the side, and administering the strengths assessment, as well as trying to make videos and looking for more of a full-time gig. And that was just too much. I was always searching for more time, and I knew that something had to change. One at a time, I started wrapping up with 3 out of the 5 jobs, keeping teaching yoga in my life as well as the strengths assessment, and just deciding that in order to do what I wanted to do in the future, there was a different kind of job that was gonna give me the skills that I wanted. So I thought further down the road and decided that what I was doing in that moment with those 5 jobs wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. Plus, I just felt trapped because I had no time to think about the future. I was always playing catch up. For me, with my schedule and my goals, I knew I had to create this space in order to take the actions that were gonna get me where I really wanted to go. That's what a leap of faith means to me in my career right now and why I really needed it. I just snuck into the backyard here as North Carolina enjoys its last few days of summer weather in October. But something that I've noticed is that everybody has a different risk level. There's this common advice to burn your boats, which, by the way, burning your boats is different than burning your bridges. But burn your boats is like, you have no safety boat. There's plan A and there's no plan B. And for some people that works. For me, that kind of freaks me out. And what really worked for me was to think of a plan B that didn't sound that attractive, but that I could stay afloat with. So many boat metaphors. So what I did was I texted a friend of mine who's a manager at a restaurant, and I just said, hey, if at the end of this month, my plan fails or shit hits the fan, is there an opportunity to come there for a serving position? He was like, well, we're full, but I bet with a recommendation we could get you in. And that just let me relax a little bit so that I could actually follow the plan for what I really wanted. I felt like even if this plan fails, I'll be okay. And with that, I have no problem putting an effort into the plan that I really want to follow, my plan A. So I think it's important to think about your risk level. Do you want to have a plan A with no plan B so that you have no other options and you can kind of just hit the ground running and don't look back? Or for you, do you feel like having a plan B makes you feel safe enough that you can really go for your dreams? Because the second one is definitely me. I just spent some time this morning at a coffee shop, as you saw, just doing some basic stuff like updating my LinkedIn and asking for a recommendation from my old boss, and figuring out some direction for one of the gigs that I am sticking with. And now it's the afternoon and I'm just at my desk getting some more stuff done. But this afternoon I was listening to a podcast. It was an interview with Ken Burns on the Tim Ferriss Show, which is my favorite podcast, by the way. Look it up if you haven't heard of it. And what he said stuck with me so much I had to put it in a notes page on my phone. And he talked about faith and what that really means, which is so relevant here. I mean, when you take a leap of faith, inevitably you need to have some faith. He said something along the lines of, the opposite of faith is not doubt, it's conviction, which means that every time you have faith, there will be a little bit of doubt. Faith requires doubt. It doesn't require certainty. This is big. My interpretation of this is basically that if you are so convicted and you decide this is exactly what my future needs to look like, set in stone, then you're gonna actually go in with tunnel vision and you're gonna basically limit your opportunities because, outside that tunnel, there's all kinds of stuff out there that you're going to be ignoring. And so that's not to say that you shouldn't make decisions. You need to make decisions so you can head a certain direction, but I feel like it's more like a compass. As you're heading in that direction, know that you've got to have faith. You've got to be open to the different possibilities and know that you're going to feel a little bit of doubt sometimes, and that's okay. I feel like this is just key to what's going on here. I love just bumping into exactly what I need to hear. Okay, so speaking of having a plan and kind of a direction, here is my elaborate plan. A lot of these things happen on sticky notes. So I do have a slightly more elaborate version in a notebook, but basically what the plan is to teach a few yoga classes a week, about half of what I'm doing right now, to keep making some videos since career development is a real passion of mine, work with the strengths interviews that I mentioned. I've been training for several months and really transitioning into running the interviews myself. Since those are all on the edges of what I'm doing, what I really want to pursue is a job with a local startup in something like a program director role or program manager, and that's really what I'm working on. That's what this leap of faith is all about. Just with my long-term goals, that last piece is going to be really important just for seeing inside a successful business and learning, you know, the skills of that type of role. So it's something that I really want to pursue and really see it as an essential piece to my future. It is the next day and I'm getting ready to go into this co-working space that's in my town that is awesome. I reached out to somebody who's there who's doing kind of what I want to do, just to hear about her experience, and then she invited me to come check out the space sometime, so here I am. My main goals, I took some time to think about them this morning, and it's really to connect with her team, as well as just see the space and see if it would be a good idea to join the community in order to get connected with startups and find opportunities, as well as actually just straight up ask them, you know, do you know anybody who you think I should be connected with? So we will see how it goes. Now that I'm done with my visit, here's a little recap. I decided to sit down because crossing the street with a camera in your face is really not that smart. The visit was good though. I was only there for like a little less than half an hour, but it was nice. I got to see around the space, and I think what was great was I just put myself out there and said, here's what I'm really looking for. Do you know anybody that would be a good connection? And she made some suggestions, and that was awesome. And I think it's just important to actually be willing to voice, this is the kind of role I'm looking for, kind of opportunity that I really want, because that's really how people can help you. So that's what I did, and I got some contacts and I wrote down right away like 7 or 8 next steps to take, and I'll try to get those done today, because I think the faster you can get on those next steps, the more momentum it builds, and so that's what I'm going for. On a similar note, I feel like it's hard to admit your goals sometimes. Being able to share with people and say, this is what I really want, that's like scary sometimes. I feel like for me, it's like admitting that you don't have what you want, kind of. You know, I want to be like, oh, I'm killing it, I have everything in my career that I need, and like, and yet there's this thing that I want to pursue, and sometimes that's hard because you want to like communicate to people like, oh yeah, I've got it going on, and that's when good friends come into play, because my friends are like, oh yeah, you do have it going on, and I'm like, thanks guys, I needed that. And last May, which it's October now, I started to think about what areas do I really need to put my attention into in order to make progress, and I came up with 3, and I've been focusing on these 3 areas since then, so for the last few months, and it's really made a difference. I've been able to get further by knowing where I need to put my attention and energy. These 3 areas are learning, building my mindset, and connecting, and I'll explain what that means. The first one is learning, and that really means doing some self-reflection, some research online, as well as informational interviews to understand more about what's really interesting to me, what am I passionate about, or at least curious about. The second piece is building mindset, and for me this really means understanding my own value as an employee, as well as just having the belief, the faith, the trust that I can get an opportunity that fits me well and that I'm really gonna love. And the third piece, which I really feel like this one is the most important of the 3, is connecting. And that's really about getting in touch with people who have similar career interests or kind of in line with what I want to do. And the studies show that the best opportunities come through our secondary connections. So that's like you have you and then your circle around you, your friends, family, neighbors, professional contacts, and then it's the people that they know that are really gonna be in the space that you wanna be. Because our secondary connections span so wide, and it's a friend of a friend or a contact of a contact that's really gonna help you get a new position that you might really love. So I've got this notebook. It's like my Designing My Life notebook that really captures everything I've been working on over the last year to learn more about what my future might look like. And I think it represents all three. It's like my research is in here, answering reflection questions. You know, I've got plenty of informational interview notes in here, even mindset stuff, just, you know, writing down quotes or beliefs that I wanna have so that I can really put myself in the best position, as well as people that I might wanna reach out to that I think I should get in touch with. And it's really been quite an interesting process. So in my experience, if you focus your attention on all three of those areas, learning, building your mindset, and connecting, you're really gonna make a lot of progress. Like we've been talking about, one of the hardest things is making the decisions about what you really want and having an idea of what that actually looks like. And that's really why it's taken me like a year to get to this point of knowing an exact kind of title and company that I wanna aim for. And there have been a couple of tools that have been really helpful along the way, which I wanted to share because that's really what's helped me make those decisions and get clearer. There's this book called Designing Your Life, which has been my saving grace. I seriously love it so much, and when I got it about 1.5 years ago, it helped me incredibly. Seriously, I'm just obsessed with it, and I just recommend it to everyone. But there's one exercise in particular that I really appreciate called Odyssey planning, and it's basically like a more creative spin on the dreaded 5-year plan or 3-year plan. And you get to kind of doodle out what you want your life to look like and explore a bunch of different possibilities. So it's not one 5-year plan, but you're doing like 3 of them or 5 of them and getting to see what these different paths could look like. So I've done this a bunch, and when I first started, I made 5 different plans and mapped it all out, and it was crazy to take a look at, and I could immediately tell, oh, I like this one more than that one, or this kind of creates a little bit of dread inside versus this one's really exciting, and you get to rank it on these different scales. So that's an exercise in the book that I just really love, that when you map out the different possibilities and you create little images and everything, it just, your mind gets to think about it in a different way. The other tool that has seriously changed my life is informational interviews. So this is when you reach out to someone and say, hey, do you mind hopping on the phone with me for 20 minutes to ask these questions? And the clarity that I've gotten from those conversations seriously determined my direction. I just looked back at my notebook and I did 12 of these in the last year, which I could have sworn I did more than that, but that's how impactful a 20-minute conversation with an expert can be. And I'd love to talk more about those in the future. Informational interviews are seriously the best. So that was a few days of my life as I navigate some big changes and go for what I really want. I'll keep you updated. Like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe if you want to stay in the loop. Bye.